Welcome to the Midnight Files channel. On the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, day before Thanksgiving, a man walked up to the Northwest Orient Airlines ticket counter at Portland International Airport in Oregon. Using cash, he purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle for $20. He gave his name as Dan Cooper. This unremarkable transaction would launch one of the most enduring mysteries in American criminal history, a case so perplexing that it remains unsolved more than 50 years later. The man who boarded that flight would become known to the world as D.B. Cooper, and his audacious crime stands as America's only unsolved commercial airline. Hijacking. Flight 305 departed Portland on schedule at 2:50 in the afternoon. It was a short flight, just 30 minutes, to Seattle. The Boeing 727 aircraft carried 36 passengers in addition to Cooper, along with a crew of 6. In command was Captain William Scott, with First Officer William Ratachak and Flight Engineer Harold Anderson managing the cockpit. 3 flight attendants worked the cabin: Alice Hancock, Florence Schaffner, and 22-year-old Tina Mucklow, the newest member of the crew. Cooper took his seat in the last row of the aircraft, position 18E. He was described as a white male appearing to be in his mid-40s, standing between 5 feet 10 inches and 6 feet tall, weighing approximately 170 to 180 pounds. He wore a dark business suit, a white shirt, a black clip-on tie, and carried a black briefcase. He ordered a bourbon and soda as the plane prepared for departure. Nothing about him seemed particularly memorable or suspicious. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. At that time, it was common for male passengers to slip their phone numbers to flight attendants, so Schaffner initially placed the note in her pocket without reading it. Cooper leaned toward her and whispered that she should look at the note because he had a bomb. The note, written in neat capital letters with a felt-tip pen, read, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase and want you to sit by me." Schaffner opened Cooper's briefcase slightly, and inside she could see a mass of wires and what appeared to be red sticks, resembling dynamite. Cooper's demands were specific. He wanted $200,000 in $20 bills and 4 parachutes. He specified the money should be ready by 5 o'clock when they landed in Seattle, and he wanted a fuel truck standing by. The crew immediately notified air traffic control, who contacted the Seattle Police Department and the FBI. The passengers were told the delay in landing was due to a minor mechanical problem. Most remained unaware they were aboard a hijacked aircraft. While officials on the ground scrambled to meet Cooper's demands, Flight 305 circled over Seattle for nearly 2 hours. The president of Northwest Orient Airlines, Donald Nyrop, authorized payment of the ransom and ordered all employees to cooperate fully with the hijacker. The FBI gathered $200,000 from several Seattle area banks, consisting of 10,000 $20 bills. The bills were not marked, but all were photographed to record their serial numbers. At 5:39 in the evening, the aircraft landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Cooper had specific instructions for the exchange. The plane was to taxi to a remote, well-lit area. No vehicles should approach the aircraft. A single Northwest employee would bring the money and parachutes to the plane. The cabin lights were to be dimmed. Flight attendant Tina Mucklow retrieved the items at the rear stairs of the aircraft, making multiple trips to collect all 4 parachutes and the bag containing the ransom money. Once Cooper confirmed he had received everything he demanded, he allowed all 36 passengers to disembark. Flight attendants Schaffner and Hancock were also permitted to leave. However, Cooper required the 3 cockpit crew members and Tina Mucklow to remain aboard. An FAA official requested permission to board the aircraft to speak with Cooper, presumably to warn him about the consequences of air piracy, but Cooper refused. Cooper then issued new instructions. He wanted the aircraft to fly to Mexico City, but with very specific parameters. The crew was to fly as slowly as possible, without stalling, keep the landing gear extended, set the flaps to 15 degrees, maintain an altitude below 10,000 feet, and leave the cabin unpressurized. Cooper also demanded they take off with the rear ventral stairs lowered, but the crew refused this request as unsafe. They agreed to lower the stairs once airborne, after delays caused by refueling. complications requiring 3 different fuel trucks. Northwest Orient Flight 305 took off from Seattle at 7:40 in the evening. Cooper sent Tina Mucklow forward to join the rest of the crew in the cockpit. He was now alone in the passenger cabin with the money and parachutes. At approximately 8 o'clock, a warning light illuminated in the cockpit, indicating the rear ventral stairs had been activated. At 8:13, the aircraft suddenly pitched nose down, requiring the flight controls to be quickly retrimmed to maintain level flight. The crew realized what had happened. Cooper had opened the rear door, deployed the stairs, and jumped from the aircraft. He leaped into the night somewhere over the heavily wooded wilderness of Southwest Washington, carrying $200,000 and wearing a business suit and loafers, hardly appropriate attire for a parachute jump in late November. When Flight 305 landed in Reno, Nevada at 10:15 that evening, a search of the aircraft confirmed what the crew suspected. Cooper, the ransom money, and 2 of the 4 parachutes were gone. Left behind were 2 parachutes, Cooper's, black clip-on tie, and 8 cigarette butts. The hijacker had vanished into the darkness. The FBI immediately launched one of the most extensive investigations in its history, codenamed NORJAC for Northwest Hijacking. In the first 5 years alone, the Bureau considered more than 800 suspects, eventually eliminating all but 2 dozen from serious consideration. Eyewitness descriptions led to composite sketches, though witnesses later said the initial sketch was not particularly accurate. Physical evidence was limited to the items Cooper left on the plane, including the tie, which decades later would yield a DNA sample, though it has never led to a definitive identification. For 9 years, there were no breaks in the case. Then, in February 1980, an 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was digging in the sand along the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington, preparing a spot for a campfire with his family. He uncovered 3 packets of deteriorated $20 bills bound together with rubber bands. The serial numbers matched those of the ransom money given to Cooper. In total, $5,800 was recovered. The bills were badly deteriorated, many reduced to fragments, some described as black and unreadable. This discovery raised more questions than it answered. How did the money end up in the Columbia River, miles from Cooper's suspected jump zone? Had Cooper landed in the river? Had the money bag broken open during his descent, or had the bills been planted there later? The location of the find did not align with the flight path or the suspected landing zone, adding another layer of mystery to an already baffling case. Despite thousands of hours of investigation, numerous suspects, and widespread publicity, Cooper's identity has never been confirmed. In 2016, after 45 years of active investigation, the FBI officially closed the case, stating that its resources could be better used on other matters. The Bureau's leading theory is that Cooper did not survive the jump. He parachuted at night into a wilderness area during a storm, wearing inadequate clothing, using a parachute that could not be steered, and apparently lacking the expertise of an experienced skydiver, as evidenced by the fact that one of the parachutes he took was sewn shut for training purposes and could not have functioned. However, the FBI left open the possibility of reviewing credible new evidence should it emerge. Over the decades, numerous suspects have been proposed, confessions have been offered, and theories have proliferated. Was Cooper a disgruntled airline employee, a military veteran with parachute training, a desperate man with nothing to lose, or was he simply a criminal who got lucky and escaped without a body, without the bulk of the ransom money, and without definitive proof? These questions remain unanswered. The case inspired immediate changes in aviation security. Metal detectors were installed at airports. Baggage inspection became mandatory. Passengers who paid cash for same-day tickets faced additional scrutiny. Aircraft were retrofitted with what became known as Cooper vanes, mechanical devices that prevented the rear stairs from being lowered during flight. Within a year of Cooper's hijacking, more than a dozen copycat crimes were attempted, though none succeeded as completely as Cooper's. The mystery of DB Cooper has become embedded in American popular culture, has been the subject of countless books, documentaries, songs, and films. To some, he became a folk hero, a kind of modern outlaw who outsmarted the system and got away with it. To others, he was simply a criminal who got lucky or perhaps paid the ultimate price for his crime somewhere in the forests of Washington. The truth is, we may never know. The man calling himself Dan Cooper, a name misreported by the press as DB Cooper, walked onto an airplane on Thanksgiving Eve in 1971 and walked into history. Whether he walked away from his parachute, landing, or perished in the attempt remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. The case stands as a testament to a different era of aviation before modern security made such a hijacking virtually impossible. More than 50 years later, the questions remain: who is DB Cooper? Where did he go, and did he survive? Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.